afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Get With It podcast. Today I have a panel of wonderful, fabulous ladies that we're going to get to know. And so everybody who listens to my podcast knows I suck at last names. I botch them like you wouldn't believe. So these fine ladies are going to introduce themselves. And then why don't we do this? Why don't you ladies introduce yourselves, kind of what your role, what your career is, what you're doing right now. And then we'll kind of circle back around with each of you on your background and how you got involved with OSHEAN and go from there. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
All right. Who'd like to start? I'm open. Silence is deadly.
I'll go ahead.
Okay. Kim's going to tear it up.
Hi, I'm Kim Cournoyer. I'm an information security engineer at OSHEAN, which is a nonprofit internet service provider. And the role that I have right now, I administer, manage, help deploy cloud security services to our members, which include healthcare, higher education, K through 12s, nonprofits, and state and local government. And we, some of the products we are, or that I'm working on specifically are Duo for multi-factor authentication, Cisco Umbrella for edge filtering, web filtering, and we're working on a vulnerability scanning product right now that we're in the process of developing and getting to launching. So that's some of the work that I do at OSHEAN.
Oh, not busy at all.
Not at all.
All right. Francesca, I'll just get down the list.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending on your time zone. So I'm Francesca Spidalieri. I'm wearing multiple hats. So the hats that this lovely group of ladies knows me for is working as the Senior Fellow for Cyber Leadership at the Pell Center for International Relations and Public Policy, which is a small think tank within the campus of Salve, Regina University in Newport, Rhode Island, where I also teach cybersecurity for managers as part of their MBA program. I'm also a cybersecurity consultant for Hathaway Global Strategies, which is a niche consulting firm that advises public and private sector clients on emerging technologies, global security trends, cyber-related policy, laws, regulation, and how they might affect their business decision and investments. I'm also an adjunct or non-resident fellow at multiple other think tanks, both in the United States and Europe. So I try to be a bridge between Europe and the US on a whole host of cybersecurity and technology issues.
Okay, another fine, fabulous young lady who has so much time on her hands. I'm sure of it, right?
Just don't sleep.
Sounds about right. Okay, Mary.
Yes, good morning. I'm Mary Sharif. I'm a technical security architect with Cisco. What that really means is that I work with my clients, and they are K through 12, higher ed, state government, counties, municipalities, and I go and architect a security, design for based on their requirements. So I collect the requirements, understand what their needs are, assess what is currently deployed in their environment, and then come up with solutions to cover the gaps that they currently have, or make them more resilient, and change some things on them. So that's what I do.
Oh boy. You ladies, you got so much time on your hands. We can only imagine what Susanna's got going on.
Hello, my name's Suzanne Mello-Stark, and I'm a professor at Rhode Island College. I'm a computer science professor, and I'm building out the cybersecurity program at Rhode Island College. I'm also the director of Gen Cyber, which is a program that I'm the director at REC for Gen Cyber, which is a program that educates high school kids in cybersecurity. And Mary and Francesca and Kim have been wonderful working with my students at both Gen Cyber and in college students. I started this cybersecurity interview program to help young people connect with professionals, and they've all participated, and it's been wonderful for them experience.
Oh, that's great. We love when the love is shared.
Yes,
Definitely. So, okay. Well, then Suzanne, we're going to put you back on the spot. How about you tell us what you're like, how you got into what you're doing, like your background?
Okay, well,
I always make fun of people and say, we don't need to go all the way back to birth, but we like to know where he came from.
well, I was born in Newport, Rhode Island. No. Well, I started as a software engineer, and I have various experience on projects. I programmed submarines. I worked at the Missile Warning Center in Cheyenne Mountain. I was a Unix kernel engineer for a while. And then I crossed over into marketing, product management area, and I was a product manager for a product called SoftSwitch, which took the calls off of the phone network and put them on the internet back in the .com boom. And just about 10 years ago, I became a professor. So that's my journey. And cybersecurity has just been something needed that I've kind of fell into. I mean, you'd be surprised on how much people know about cybersecurity. They don't realize it, as they start peeling back the onion, like, oh, that's cybersecurity, so with networking and things, so.
I could have talked to you ladies like 2 months ago. I got hacked.
Oh, no.
Bank account and everything cleared out. It was awful. It was horrible.
Well, hopefully the bank must have covered everything for you.
They did. But that panic moment when you wake up and you're like, what the? Yeah, I had that. So I just have this random question. Have you ever been in a submarine?
Me? Oh, okay. That's a great story, because actually when I programmed submarines, women were not allowed on submarines.
Shut the front door.
Yeah. So I was never picked to actually go when the testing happened. I wasn't one of the engineers that was picked because I'm a woman. So the guys got to go.
Well, that's some bullshit.
Yeah. Yes. Very much so.
Wow. All right.
But things have changed. I have female friends now that still do that kind of a job, and they get to go on the subs now. So.
Huh. See, I picked up that submarine. I was fascinated by that. Okay. All right. Francesca, how about you?
Hello again. Well, I probably have the least traditional background in this group. So I actually wanted to be a diplomat. Growing up, I wanted to change the world. And so I did everything you could expect to pursue that kind of career. Studied international affairs, learned several languages, lived and worked in multiple countries. And while cybersecurity was not part of my initial upbringing or studies in college, it's actually while I was in grad school studying all these fascinating things that I became more interested about how countries and states were using cyberspace to project power, impose their own interest, influence global politics. We're studying how military organizations were using cyber tools, how new conflict were also being conducted through in cyberspace. And so that's what got my interest. And after finishing my graduate studies, I was able to take additional coursework at the Naval War College, also in Newport, and specialized in this field more as a political scientist, which is my background. Now, through various initiatives, and because I was at the right place at the right time 10 years ago when this was very much a very technical field, I was among the first few who was able to find, again, a great fellowship at the Pell Center, great female mentors that took me under their wings and started studying these issues from the economic perspective, the governance, the public policy study. And in the meantime, the field continued to grow, and more people were needed to be able to explain in simple terms to policymakers, to CEOs, to other executives, how these issues affect their business and their organization, that I was able to turn this into a career. And now that actually is an actual career, defined career.
Not made up. Where are you from? You clearly have an accent that is not Rhode Island.
Yes, absolutely. And it's never going to go away. It's not Rhode Island accent, but I was originally born and raised in Italy. I've lived more than half of my life elsewhere, but my whole family is still in Italy. Rhode Island was my state that adopted me when I became a citizen and everything. So, but I'm originally from Italy.
Okay. Yes. I didn't, that Rhode Island accent that was not the same as what you have. So, okay. All right, Mary.
Yes. So my career actually in cybersecurity started when I took, Francesca probably taught that, kind of what Francesca does right now, teaching cybersecurity and MBA programs. Actually, I took a cybersecurity class during my MBA and got exposed to it. And I just, right off the bat, I just really loved it. And I got more introduced to it, did a little bit more research. I did a graduate certificate in information security after my MBA. And I just knew that I found the thing that I really love. And going, from that, I started working for New York State. I did some work with, consulting work, and then ended up at Cisco. So I was not a very, very technical geek from the background, and I just had to pick that up and learn it really quickly when I started working for Cisco. So it was an interesting transition. And now I can't really imagine ever doing anything else but being in security. But my love and passion has always been the compliance piece of it, right? Working with NIST framework and with ISO, and really looking at the governance piece, because to Francesca's point, there's a lot of people that understand the technical, and then there are a lot of people that understand the governance. Most people don't understand both sides.
Oh,
so you need people that you can communicate the interdependencies of what you make in terms of a decision, in terms of the policy. How does that really end up being implemented, audited, matured? All of those things kind of need to work hand in hand. And a lot of times what happens is the implementer, the custodians, they don't often have the tools or the right language to articulate the residual risk or what they need in order to mature the organization further back to the owners. And so there's always that lack of understanding between the two groups, where one thinks everything is good, I don't need to spend any more money, we're all good, and the custodians go, I do the bare minimum because that's all we can afford. So I try to bridge that a little bit, and that's where the sweet spot is for me always, taking that policy side and really tying it with the technologies that we offer at Cisco and just in the industry.
Wow. Well, come on, girl. You can say you're kind of a techie geek, right?
Yes, I'm getting there. I'm getting there for sure. Yeah. I can configure firewalls and all that good stuff. So yeah. I can say that. Yeah.
There you go. All right, Kim, who's sitting on a Rhode Island background.
Yes, that's Rocky Point. That's the pair at Rocky Point. It's
in Rhode Island.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So my career path has been a little different, more, I think, in the trenches, if you will. I started off, and I know you don't want us to go back too far, but I was in telecommunications originally. I had gone to college and just didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I got a job with the utility company, with a phone company. And at the time, we were working on migrations from the old rotary dial, which was an electromechanical switching system. And we were upgrading. I worked on a team that traveled around the state, upgrading the systems to electronic switching systems so people could have touch tone.
Before you go any further, for our young listeners, I actually grew up with a rotary phone. And then when we got a touch, it was a big deal in my house. And then when we got a cordless, oh my God, that was huge. But were you like sitting there with the earphones doing like the...
No, that's actually the operator. So the operators, okay. The switchboard operators. Now I was working on a big mainframe, wiring the connections, and yeah, it was pretty cool. And I always loved working with my hands and problem solving. So then I got married and pushed pause on the career. But while I was pausing and raising a family, I was back in school. I was working in another field, but kind of sharpening those soft skills. And then when I got back into the computer area, I was working at a local hospital, and I was able to go into their computer department. And I started out as a computer operator, help desk, moved to another company and into programming, which I found I didn't like. I was good at it in school, but I really didn't like sitting at a desk doing that. So I eventually wound up managing a network for a small agency, state agency. And it was pretty comprehensive. We did a lot of work with the federal government. So there was a lot of compliance for safety and security. And I accidentally kind of developed a security posture in this job I say accidental because I didn't have this overarching plan that I worked towards. I was just so afraid that something would get hacked or we'd get a virus or, we'd wind up on the front page of the newspaper. So I'd always say to my boss, we need to do this, we need to do that. And in the end, I was there for about 16 years. I had this defense in depth layered security posture in place. And that was back in 2008, 2010. People were like, wow, and I'm like, oh, is that what you call that? It was pretty cool. But when I left there, I went to OSHEAN. I've been at OSHEAN for just over 6 years. And it is a fast-paced environment. We do a lot for our members. It's a consortium, and our members basically tell us, like, this is what we're interested in, this is what we need. And then we try to develop the best offering. So I actually work with Mary at Cisco with her team. We deployed Umbrella. We are in the process of deploying dual multi-factor authentication, and it's a never-ending field. I love working with the members. I love working in the capacity that I'm in now, and it's just been this evolution. I didn't plan it. But I have to say, too, to Suzanne's point, I have my son was a submariner. One of my sons was a submariner, and my husband built submarines at General Dynamics for 40 years. He had a career there. I always wanted to go on one of those Tiger cruises and do one of those, what do they call it? The emergency blow.
Get out of it. Exactly.
I know, and I wasn't able to do it. Not because I was a woman. They did have Tiger cruises, but my son was never able to coordinate it for us. But anyway, just a little sidetrack. I would have loved to have done
Rhode Island thing?
Yes,
Submarines? Is that like a Rhode Island thing?
Yes. Well, we do build them here, and we also program them here. So yes. It is.
Okay.
And there is a big defense industry and the Navy, so very small state. So we're all somehow connected to the defense industry at some level, whether our students go work there or we're teaching somebody or we know somebody, it's our neighbors, somebody, in our family. Again, small state, and that's a big industry for Rhode Island. Again, the Navy, the defense contractor, the shipbuilding.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, look at that. Wow. All right. Okay. So, all right. So we know now all your backgrounds, which is pretty extensive for each of you. So how do y'all know each other? Like, how do y'all, it sounds like Kim works with Mary and everybody works with Suzanne.
It's actually thanks to OSHEAN. Well, again, small state, we do a lot of collaborative efforts. The Pell Center used to, pre-pandemic, host monthly seminars, webinar conference, tabletop exercises. And so I would always invite, as much as I could, local expert to come and share best practices and expertise. And OSHEAN does similar event for their constituencies. And so we have often collaborate on events, both online and in person. And so that's how I got to meet all these lovely ladies.
Yeah, and OSHEAN is great partner for a lot of places. Like, for example, for Rhode Island College last summer, OSHEAN came in and they created a capture the flag game for the high school students, which they love to do. And OSHEAN had their anniversary on Rhode Island College campus. And Rhode Island is a really small state. And so, we all do know each other. Francesca and I are on boards together. I mean,
well, also OSHEAN actually provides our connectivity for all the campuses and universities and nonprofit in the state. So we also depend on them for our.
Absolutely.
So I know, Kim, you mentioned it since you work there. It's a nonprofit. And while you're describing it at the end, give the website, because we always have a lot of people who are interested. They like to go Google.
Sure. So we're a nonprofit internet service provider, and we provide, as I mentioned earlier, the verticals that we provide services to are the higher education, K through 12 and libraries, nonprofits, the healthcare. All of the hospitals in the state are our members, state and local government. And we're a collaborative agency or company, if you will. we want to work with our members. And as I mentioned, our members come to us and say, we have a problem we're trying to solve here. We actually have a member lounge when we were able to be in the office where we invite our members down to collaborate. How did you fix this? How did you solve that? Or just get together and discuss these different challenges. We want their input. We're not telling them what, well, this is what we're going to give you and that will fix your problem. So we have a great mission trying to give the best services for the best price to our membership, because everybody's challenged with, we need security, we need the bandwidth, but how do we get there safely? We've been in business for just over 20 years, and most people in Rhode Island don't even know who we are. It's kind of funny. We're a little hidden gem, I'd have to say.
So really it's customizing the needs of your members. So it's not like a one shop.
Correct, for the most part. I mean, we have our service offerings, but yeah, we do usually go that extra yard for a particular, we like to call them one-offs. We'll do this for this member because they need this special piece or this special configuration. But yeah, for the most part, here are our offerings, and then we'll tailor it to those needs.
Okay.
So the website is www.osean.org.
Good. Okay. And then where does Cisco come in though?
Let me unmute myself first. So as an organization, so we work with, OSHEAN and with a lot of other state agencies, universities, and K through 12 customers. That's actually the market segment that I serve for all of New England and including Connecticut. So that's what I do. But Cisco as an organization, obviously we are in every type of organization, commercial, in every country in the world. So we employ 70,000 employees worldwide. So we're a very big organization. Speaking of employment, we have several positions open right now, and we were very, very mindful of wanting to bring in women technologists and specialists into the organization. Our CEO is behind this, and the entire leadership at Cisco is very much into that. And so for anybody who's interested in listening to this podcast, you can go to www.cisco.com and then go under careers, Cisco careers. And then there are several jobs for security sales specialists for same role as mine, technical security architect, system engineers. So there's just tons of opportunities in this company. And we work with organizations to do mentoring and even internally, obviously. So pretty, robust programs inside the organization.
And you can send that, since I can email you as a reminder, any positions you all have, I can put it out there for the Get With It on our Slack channel, or
I'll send you even the job IDs. So
perfect. Even easier for people. Yes. So we can share with our community here. And I'm assuming a lot of it's remote right now because of our switch.
Yes. So Cisco right here, I just already put it in the chat for you. Yes, so we have actually a policy right now. None of Cisco employees can actually visit a customer on site until end of June of 2021.
Oh, okay.
And then subject to be determined after that if something changes. But
or connectivity,
everything is remote right now.
That tells you a lot where we're going to be for the next.
Yes. Yeah.
So, this is where I like to lead into, since we're in this crazy world we're in. So tell me how, for each of you and whoever would like to throw it out there, how has this 2020 been? I've interviewed a lot of women that are CEOs, CIOs, and they're saying our businesses are booming. I just interviewed Vicky Knott, and she's really into the oil industry, and she's up in Canada, and she's like, oh, I'm blowing up. But that's not always the case for a lot of industries. So from each of you, how has that affected your
6 months?
how has that affected not only your life, but how you do your job and that kind of thing?
Well, if I can give you a little bit of both effects. On one hand, the consulting job is doing really well now, but it wasn't so much in March and April when companies had to shut down and save their businesses and their employees. So one of the first things they cut was actually their third-party vendors, if they could, and their consultant, even if, of course, they need cybersecurity. Of course, they need help protecting their systems and their networks, especially now all their employees are working from home and most likely connecting from unsecure devices and unsecure connection. But in March and April, our consulting business was struggling because so many contracts got canceled or delayed, or again, the government contract as well, because they didn't even know how to process a lot of this stuff once people were not into the office. Things are going a lot better now, but it was also up to my CEO and our team to reinvent some of the services we were providing and rebuilding our portfolio. As a professor and an instructor, not much has changed for me because my course was already online. So I was able to ramp up. We actually offer even more times a year because not everybody was able to make this transition online so seamlessly, but students are suffering. So I actually provide a lot more through emails, phone support, because even if the students already took my class online, now they're taking every class, every lab, everything, and they're struggling. So I've actually put a lot more hours, even if I'm not paid, I'm not paid by the hour, into teaching and mentoring my students who are struggling, doing everything from home. So that is, I think I would say, has been the biggest struggles. I feel like I work a lot more now than ever before, especially from home. You're never disconnected. You're always online. You're always connected. You're always available. And so it's been very difficult to find that, work-life balance.
Francesca, I can tell you third grade is kicking my ass, just so you know. My kids
I can imagine. I'm grateful that my child is in a small school and is able to continue to go to school, because I cannot imagine, on top of taking care of my 20, 25-year-old students, having to take care of a 60-year-old and his homeschooling.
Yeah, my kids were in school and they shut this district down because of the bus situation. And so we didn't have a lot of COVID cases, but they didn't have the substitutes for the bus drivers. And then when you had to quarantine, because you may have come across them that. So I have a high schooler and she's kind of on her own. But my third grader, God, third grade's hard.
I can't imagine how they sit still. That's probably the hardest part, just getting them to pay attention.
Absolutely. No way. My child is so good with technology. If I stepped away from the room, he would be playing video games or watching Netflix in 5 minutes. There's no way homeschooling in front of an iPad would have ever worked with him. So I'm so grateful that he's able to continue to go to school in a safe environment.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, mine's on the spectrum, so he needs a lot of attention. And yes, we have to compromise, do your math, and then we'll take 20 minutes and you can play a video game or watch something on TV. And so, yeah, we have to break it up. But I'd read a research paper this week and I was like, what third graders writing a research paper? So, yeah. So, Francesca, I may be calling you on the side, girl.
Since I'm kind of in the same field as Francesca, as far as I'll just talk a little bit about what's going on for me and my students. I mean, I just like what Francesca was saying, I feel for the students because, well, a lot of my students are actually taking on more work because, they're in the nursing homes, they're in the supermarkets, they're essential workers. So the computer science part of it, because I teach computer science, we're pretty good with the computers, right? So it's actually better in a lot of ways to teach online, because when we share our screen, for example, like if we're writing code, I can actually see it better because instead of leaning over someone, so there's some good aspects to it. But as far as the students go, I've just noticed that a lot of them that were maybe working part-time before are now working full-time. They need the money. They have the opportunity to do that. And seriously, a lot of my students are working full-time and going to school full-time right now, and they are tired. So I'll be thankful when this is over. But I also think that we've learned a lot. Like, I think that there's a happy medium between face-to-face and online. Like, I think hybrid might be a good way to go, where we don't have to be with the students as much as we were before, so they could have more flexibility. But we'll see how it goes. But it's been a struggle. Lots more work.
Wow.
I concur with that. There is no way we're going back to normal. We're going to reinvent the world. We're going to take some of the lessons learned both in the private sector and academia, and hopefully do better using technology in a secure way.
Yeah, in a secure way.
That could be the tagline.
I think I'll go next. So for me personally, nothing really changed a lot in terms of my day-to-day, because my office at home was set up from the get-go. Usually a lot of Cisco employees work from home. I had an office location too, but whenever I went there, I was basically the only one in there. So nobody really used the office space. But what I do miss is meeting face-to-face with my customers. It's a little harder to build rapport and, talk about, the emerging things. There's a lot of noise. There's just so much noise from every type of organization talking to the customers. So, cybersecurity is not their only job, right? That's not their core competency. They have a lot of other things going on. And so for me, it's a little difficult because, I'll see a message coming in that there is a big rise and, this kind of attack going around, or there is a big issue with ransomware going around. And it is really hard to always communicate that to your customer, because the customer always thinks as a vendor, you're trying to reach out to them to summon something. Mm-hmm. And it is really like, oh my God, this is happening. If I don't tell them, I'm putting them at risk. And if I tell them, they think I am trying to pitch them or sell to them. So it is always a difficult thing to balance. Whereas if you meet the customer consistently, you're able to build and see them in the face. And there's always that body language that comes across when you're in front of someone versus when you're on a computer, sitting in front of a computer. You cannot always, that doesn't come through. So from a sales perspective, I think it makes it more difficult. But in terms of how it affected my business, it did not, because whenever something like this happens, obviously people think about their, cyber resiliency and how they are going to protect the organization and the organization's assets. So it didn't hurt me in terms of, our business at Cisco, but I think that some of that one-on-one, face-to-face is missing. And to Francesca's point, you're just always connected.
Yes.
So what I try to do is, set a limit, at least to get my exercise in, and just do that, because you're just sitting down all the time. I worry that I'm going to be like really bottom heavy very soon. But I'm just going, yeah. So I try to get some exercise in, and even in terms of sanity, right? I mean, I am somebody who does not watch TV a lot, and I have very short attention span about how much I can consume. So I watch a movie in 20 minutes. I cannot take 2 hours to watch a movie, or I can't do it. And so the normal things we used to go, meeting with people and being outside to refresh yourself, to refresh your mind, to have a different, type of interaction. All of that is pretty much very limited right now. Mm-hmm. And that's a struggle, and that's a big struggle. And I have a grown-up kid that lives with me, so he doesn't really talk with me a lot, other than mom, what's there to eat. So, so that makes it a little challenging. You kind of feel secluded. So those are
Elizabeth, you should have told us that you normally do this with a glass of wine, and we could have all used this also for us to gather and share all of this.
Shoot, after my 3 hours already with third grade, I could have, I need to start with it.
Breakfast.
Yes. So Kim, how about with you?
Well, I think it's been very busy. We were in the midst of starting a huge project at OSHEAN. The other engineers, the network engineers, they're upgrading the entire infrastructure. That was a planned project when the pandemic hit. It's been amazing that we've been able to just continue doing that. Meeting the members, a lot of people aren't on site, so they schedule time, they get in there, they get the equipment set up. And then personally, the projects that I'm working on have, I handle web filtering, so not just the Cisco umbrella, but also the K-12 web filtering. And when the pandemic hit and everybody went remote, we had to support our members and help them to transition. How can we best do this? How can we protect the devices? A lot of them didn't have the off-site filtering because they weren't allowing the devices to go home. So it was very challenging those first few weeks. I know I was doing a lot of 10-hour days, and I'd just walk away from my desk like, oh my word. But it all worked out well, and we just continue to be busy. The membership, member service team, they're always coming in with new ideas, endpoint protection, I've talked about with Mary and her team, and we're looking into that. There's just constant products that are coming along, and we're trying to see what can we handle and what can we get out. So professionally, it's been great. I'm grateful that I have a job, and we're doing so well. People need us. It's wonderful. Personally, I find time for exercise. I've been running since I was 17. Not that I'm, a professional, I get out for exercise, but I make a point of getting out every day, running or walking. I need the fresh air. I need the space in my head. And what I find I didn't think I was going to like working from home. Never thought I'd like that. I actually love it. I have to be really strict with myself on the boundaries to clarify. I'm actually sitting in my living room right now. I live on a lake. I have a wonderful view. I don't want to go into the basement. There's a finished room, but I want to be up where the sunshine is. But saying that, when my husband and I sit down to relax at night, we're in the living room. So I literally close down my work computer. I put my headphones away. I clear the space so that when I'm sitting here relaxing, I'm really physically in a place where I'm not looking at my computer. But there are things, I had some personal stuff last night. I'm in a book club. I was on that call. And as soon as I got done, I had to switch over because we were making some changes on some equipment for a member last night. So at 8:00, I'm online. But, those things happen. It works out.
Right.
I'll take, if I have something to do at lunchtime, I'll run in and take care of things. There's more flexibility. And just kind of as an aside on this whole pandemic, my husband retired a few years ago, and I kept thinking, I don't know that I'll ever be able to retire. We're going to, the typical, how can these two people be in the same place, right? We've gotten along really well, and we're both surprised, and we're like, hey, we're kind of looking forward to the day when I get to that point. We know we can do this.
I don't know if that's the same in my house, but good for you.
I didn't think so until this happened, so you never know.
That is true. Oh, you hear my dog now. Okay, well, Kim kind of started us off with what I like to know is you all have lives outside of work, right? I mean, we try to have lives outside of work, mom, whatever it may be. So, Kim, what do you do outside of work? Will you run? Do you think about work when you're running?
Yes, I take calls and instant messages while I'm running. Because part of that is now that I'm home, I can run at different times. So I might start my day early when I used to run because I had to be in the office by whatever time. Now I just roll over to my desk with my cup of coffee and I start work. So yeah, I will. I'll take messages. My boss has called me a couple times and I'm like, I'm out on my run. And he goes, oh, that's okay. And then we'll talk through whatever the issue is. So that's pretty cool. But I do run. I do yoga, but I haven't done it a lot during the pandemic. I actually just started getting back into that. I have to say through the last 25 years of working, I was always in school. I returned back to school in my late 20s. I got one degree. I went back to school in my late 30s to get another degree. So it's always been work and school with my family, raising my kids. This is actually the last few years, I've really tried to be strict about having a boundary and making sure that I do enjoy things, because I just think I let I didn't focus on that a lot. And I think I should have focused on more of what will replenish me. So I think it's very important. I'm part of a book club. We get together once a month and chat. But there are things we can still do. I'm able to do some volunteer work online and get together with people in Zoom calls. I think it's very important. I don't get a lot of face-to-face. I miss that. A big night for us might be leaving the house at 7:30, and I'll say to my husband, I need to go buy bananas. Let's go to Walmart. I mean, I never thought I'd be like that, but that has become a highlight. I walk around the store mindlessly just to not be home for an hour. So that's
good. Understood. How about you, Francesca?
A little bit of all of that. I'm actually also very mindful to get a little bit of exercise every day. I invested on a Peloton bike back in like February, March, when we knew we were going to be stuck inside. But soon after, I bought a standing desk that goes on top of it. So I will sit there and actually work at just pedaling to get my legs moving. So I actually have a very hard time completely disconnecting for sure. And I don't actually go to stores or anything. I get all my stuff delivered, but I try to spend time with my son outside in our backyard. I'm not a super handy person, but this summer we were glad to have our own space outdoors. So we built him a sandbox, there were vegetable gardens, again, things I would have never done before probably. So trying to spend a little time outside with my child, it's really like, and that's when I have to disconnect and turn off all the phones and emails, etc. And trying to stay mindfully connected. Also, because my whole family's in Italy and friends and colleagues are all over the world, I have taken more time to have mindful calls on Zoom or WebEx or FaceTime that is not about work, and trying to reconnect with people, asking how they're doing, how their family are doing, even people I had not talked to. I've made a point in the past 8 months to reconnect and ask, and people are extremely grateful and appreciative of that connection. And, it's important for me as well.
And I'm assuming you haven't been able to travel to Italy to see your family.
My son and I actually did go to Italy this summer because we are dual citizen. We have passports, so we were able to go and come back. But with all the precaution, we were able to isolate, quarantine, get tested. In Europe, you can get a test within 20 hours, have a result for the PCR. So we did all of that, and we're able to spend some time with my family with the same restriction, mask wearing outside, etc. And did the same thing on the way back. But we wouldn't do that right now during the holidays. I think during the summer it was safer to do, and now we're just hoping for a vaccine before we travel again next summer, ideally.
Got it. Okay. All right. Mary?
Yeah, so for me, like I said, just trying to get the exercise in, and I do a lot of reading too. I have a couple of books going on that I try to get to, and it's a struggle. For me, unplugging is a struggle. And what Kim just said kind of resonates so much with me, because all my life I've been doing school and work and raising kids. And hearing somebody else say, I wish I did less of that and more of just me, a little bit more of me, it's kind of hitting home for me, because right now I'm studying for a certification and working. So I don't think I take as much time as I should for myself. And that is hard, because there's, if you do that all the time, and Kim probably can attest to this, you almost feel guilty when you don't. It's almost like the world is moving forward and I am not. Oh my God, right? It's a big deal. So I think that those are kind of the struggles, but at the end of the day, I'm hoping to get more balance in that area. I haven't achieved it yet for myself.
I think a lot of women have not reached that balance of, I think there's a guilt women have if they do take time for themselves.
Yeah, but I love to travel, and I had plans to go to Australia. My sister lives in Australia, in Sydney, and we were supposed to go to New Zealand, and I was going to stay there for a month and a half, because with Cisco, they don't care where you are. As long as they have good internet connection, and I was going to take some time off, and that didn't happen. So instead I went to Florida, stayed at the beach by myself. It was all right.
Was it warm?
Yes, I swam every day, and I did like 6 mile walks every day. So it was really nice.
The only thing about Australia and New Zealand is watch out for those spiders and snakes.
Yeah.
They're no joke.
And I don't like our friends, Mr. and Mrs. Spider.
Yes.
I do. Yeah.
No
Neither
joke.
do I like snakes.
And Mary, just to let you know, Vency, do you know Vency from OSHEAN?
I'm not sure if
Okay.
probably face to face, but not by name.
Okay. He lived there. He lived in New Zealand for a few years. So before you take that trip, I'll make a connection if you have any questions.
Okay, that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's awesome.
Spiders and snakes. That's all I'm saying about that.
Keep an eye for them.
All right, Suzanne.
Well, I love to travel. So that what you guys are talking about, that's what I really miss, I think, is traveling. But I'm lucky I live in a beautiful area. I live like a half a mile from where Francesca's school, Salve, Regina, and it's such a beautiful area. I like to just go out and walk. So I won't have a destination. I'll just walk out of my house and I'll just end up somewhere, and it'll be the ocean or, it's really wonderful to live here. So I just walk in various places every day. I like to get the fresh air too. In the summer, I kayak a lot.
Oh, that's
My
beautiful.
husband and I, we try to get kayaking every day. So yeah, that's what I've been doing lately.
So you're all in Rhode Island except Francesca. Is that correct?
Correct, just temporarily. So my husband is a Navy officer, and so we keep moving because of his job. But we were lucky enough to spend a lot of time in Newport, Rhode Island. As Suzanne said, one of the most beautiful places on earth. When I first moved there, again, I had only lived in big cities, studied in Paris and Milan and Boston. I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? I've just thrown away all my dreams and my dreams of being a diplomat to be in this small, teeny town, and turned out to be one of the best things I've ever done in my life. One, because of the opportunities I was given once there to be, big fish in a small pond and meet wonderful community, but also because it's really, really beautiful. And all year round, there is something to do, outdoor, indoor, with a beautiful community. So we look forward to being back in Rhode Island as soon as the Navy allows.
All right. Wow. I guess I should come check out Newport, Rhode Island.
Come on out. Okay.
And let us know when you come out.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will. I'm off work.
Especially if you like sailing. Again, one of the most greatest place for sailing and being, again, on the water.
In the water.
Maybe not all year round, but, 6 months.
Is it cold there?
Right now it is.
Right now it
Probably not colder than Ohio. And at least we have the ocean and it's not as humid. I hate summer now down here in Virginia. It's extremely humid and hot.
That is true. Ohio today may hit in the 50s. So.
We're about 10 degrees cooler today.
Okay. All right. Well, I have, excuse me, I have the Pell Center Cyber Leadership Project, right? Did I say that correctly, Francesca?
That's right. So that's our research project, but underneath that, we also have our initiative, which is called the Rhode Island Corporate Cybersecurity Initiative, which is where we would normally host in-person seminar, conference, tabletop exercise. We've done some of that virtually, but really miss that community and the opportunity to get together. So we look forward to, starting again later next year, probably.
So does this, is this, because you ladies did the virtual event, right? Women's Journey through.
So we had more than one, actually, again, during the fall, especially for both our students and community. OSHEAN hosted one for their constituency. So, people across the board in different industry. Salve, the Pell Center hosted another one specific for students, so college and graduate students who were looking into pursuing a career in cybersecurity. And those were some of the most successful events I think both OSHEAN and the Pell Center hosted. And so we look forward to offering something like that again. And we'll probably do it virtually. So we'll make sure that we send you the details and so that your listener can also participate. We had people with different backgrounds discussing both their how they got into cybersecurity, were some of the opportunities in the cybersecurity field, both technical and non-technical, were some of the things that people that are in that mid-level career looking to make a transition into cybersecurity can do. So those were great events, lots of questions, very engaging.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, if you send me that information, anything virtual, Our community loves that. We did our virtual Whitcon in September, and we had people from across the country. So it was, I think, I don't like the term new normal. I don't like that term at all. So
we're gonna have to find something else though that rhymes with that or is along this line. We're not going back to what used to be
right.
normal. Yes, we're gonna figure out a new environment. There will be more of a hybrid environment. We hopefully will resume seeing each other in person, but I think a lot of these events will continue to be virtual, and we can actually reach people all over the world. Just last week, I was giving a speech in Japan at 3 a.m. and was able to then jump on a panel discussion in Africa and brief clients in Europe. I would have never probably even imagined doing that last year, not because the technology wasn't there, it's just not how we operated.
It wasn't how, So I agree with you. I think things are now going to be like a hybrid where we can reach more people worldwide. So yes. I can imagine that it will be hybrid, but so, Mary, I have your information here with the jobs, and I'll add your website also. And Kim, thank you. You sent over the website. And then Francesca, I have yours. Suzanne, do you have anything that you would want through your organization? I can provide to our listeners.
I'll give you the website for Gen Cyber.
Okay, perfect.
It's the organization funded by the NSA and NSF where we educate high school students. And I just have to look it up. I'll put it in the post. In the chat.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, anything else you ladies want to promote, throw out there to our listeners?
I would.
Go ahead.
So our CEO, Dave Marble, had been instrumental for me in promoting my participation with other women, with groups of we have a Women in Technology group in Rhode Island that is sponsored through the Tech Collective. And that was huge. I had never had a resource like that and a network like that. And I started going and wound up becoming a mentor and just saw such value in that relationship. I wish I had a mentor when I was all those 20 other years that I was in technology. It was a man's world. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really have a problem with that. In terms of working with other men, but when I got into this group of women, the energy that I got from these women, and it's a direct result sitting here today. I probably wouldn't be here if I hadn't started with Women in Technology a few years ago, and then just kind of it evolved into all of this participation. And it's just been wonderful for me. I've gotten a lot out of it, and I couldn't be, so I'd love to talk, I'd love to just promote that. And I know that there are tech collectives and the Women in Technology groups in other areas throughout the country. So any of your listeners, find groups that you can network with and ask somebody to be a mentor. People, I think, generally want to help.
I have a few. You keep me in line.
I was just going to say the link I send you also has all our research and publications. So for those who are still sitting at home, but want to have something to read that is a bit different, less technical, but still discuss cybersecurity, their best practices in industry, education, how we incorporate cyber into non-traditional field. For those who are in academia and thinking, well, I'm not an engineer or computer science, but I recognize the importance of cybersecurity in the legal, governance, public policy, financial field. How do I incorporate that in my class, in my course, in my department? I have published extensively on those issues, and they're all on that same link I just shared with you.
And just for your younger viewers, I just wanted to throw out Women in Cybersecurity as an organization that they should look into, and also Grace Hopper, if they haven't looked into Grace Hopper. There's a lot of funding available for young women to go to this conference, Grace Hopper. And it's an amazing experience. I've 10,000 women, now 20,000 women getting together. There's nothing like it. So I would suggest people to try to get to that conference if they can. Usually when you go to a conference as a woman, it's usually all guys, which is fine. But when you go to Grace Hopper and it's all women, it's it's a different experience. So.
Suzanne, I agree with that. And if while you're there, if you're looking for a job, stop at Cisco's booth.
Yes.
There. And I was
Yes,
actually,
absolutely.
I was actually there the last time they had it in person. It's pretty fantastic. There's a lot of great speakers. And I think, we as women, we sometimes think that if we get into a job that just requires a lot of upkeeping in terms of always keeping up on top of, what is going on, the trends, keeping educated, keeping yourself informed, that it is going to take away from your family life so much that it is going to throw your balance off. And I think that is a misconception, because in every job you do, I think there is some element of that already there. The goodness in being in security is that if this is really something you love, you can find that thing within cyber that really, really creates that niche for you, that you just brings out all your creative juices, right? That gets you motivated. It no longer seems to be a job. It's just the thing that you love to do. And when you find that, it is no longer work. And so I'm sure, that is true for most things in life, that if you really work hard at something, you'll get to that point. But don't let technology intimidate you, because there's just so much resources. If you're stuck at something, YouTube it, go to different resources, work with a mentor. Somebody else is doing this as an expert. Find their podcast, find who's moving the world in that space, and just learn from them and follow their footsteps. Have a role model for whatever it is that you want to do. So don't get intimidated by this field just because it's vast and it just seems like so big. Find your thing that you love to do within it. You don't need to know everything. You just need to focus on what you love to do, and then the rest will come. So
Perfect way to end this podcast. Nicely said. Nicely said. All right. Well, ladies, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today and sharing your knowledge and hanging out with me. And I wish you all the luck. I'm sure I'll be reaching out to you guys, because I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of people reach out to me and ask how they get a hold of you. So I thank you for your time. And who knows, maybe Get With It will head out to Newport.
Awesome.
We'll start a chapter in Newport.
Please do. And I'm sure you could easily see all of us within a couple of miles when we're allowed to, be in person
yes,
again.
I'll have to wait till, everybody has the vaccine and we're back to face-to-face. So definitely.